Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the afternoon session of Cluster 6 Training of Trainers on Learning Management Sessions. I hope that you all had a good lunch break and a short rest maybe. Ma'am, kamusta yung lunch at yung konting pahinga mo, ma'am?
Very great, Sir Jazz. And it's a good thing to note that in our AM session, we've known a lot of topics, and then it's enjoyable to have our day 2 PM session right now.
Okay, maraming salamat po, ma'am. And teachers, kung meron bang kayong mga kasama dyan na kapwa teachers na nakatulog, kung pwede
Mhm.
gisingin nyo na po, ha? Okay, maraming salamat po.
Right.
And I believe that everyone is ready for this afternoon session. To begin with, let us all together sing our Makabayan song.
Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinos kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay. Tungkulin ko'y gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran. Ang haya ko'y babantayan, Pilipinas kong ina. Ang bayan ko'y tanging ikaw, Pilipinos kong mahal, ang puso ko at buhay man sa iyo'y ibibigay. Tungkulin ko'y gagampanan na lagi kang paglingkuran. Ang haya ko'y babantayan, Pilipinas kong ina.
Turn it up. Somebody save your soul, cause you've been sinning in the city. I know too many troubles, all these lovers got you losing control. You like a drug to me, a luxury, my sugar and gold. I want the good life every good night, you're a high one to hold. Cause you don't even know, I can make your hands clap. Said I can make your hands clap. Somebody save your soul, cause you've been sinning in the city. I know too many troubles, all these lovers got you losing control. You like a drug to me, a luxury, my sugar and gold. I want your sex and your affection when they're holding you close. Cause you don't even know, I can make your hands clap.
Clap, clap, snap, clap, 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 snap, clap, clap. Everybody dance to the music. Okay.
Now it's time to get funky. To the right now. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. One hop this time. One hop this time. Right foot, two stumps. Left foot, two stumps. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Crisscross. Cha cha, real smooth. Let's go to work. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Two hops this time. Two hops this time. Right foot, two stumps. Left foot, two stomps. Hands on your knees, hands on your knees. Get funky with it. Oh, yeah. Turn it out. Freeze. Everybody clap your hands.
Once again, teachers, salamat po sa very soulful na Makabayan song and for that very energizing energizer. Ma'am? Okay po, again, inuulit namin, nandyan po lang yung ating attendance para sa PM session po. Okay? Kung maaari lang po, ay i-click nyo lang po and try to fill in the details. Marami pong salamat. And now this time, let us welcome Sir Darwin C. Polido to recognize the top 5 Day 2 AM Watch Advocates. Pero ang bago nga lahat, shoutout muna tayo sa ilan nating mga viewers sa hapong ito. Okay, from Sir Dominador Man on, good afternoon everyone. Good afternoon din po, sir or ma'am. Also, we have Leilani Cañete Tan. Good afternoon. Okay, from Zenaida Banquerigo Bisa Santos. I'm sorry for reading it incorrectly kung nabasa ko yung mali. Good afternoon, watching from Biao National High School. Gahot Kalandang Beauties. Wow. And from Judah Baon, good afternoon, teachers, watching from Tagakpan National High School. Again, from the teachers in Tagakpan National High School, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Okay, meron pa po tayong mga shoutouts dyan. Oh, meron pa from Jinky Reponte Herrera. Good afternoon po. Go, 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 TNHS. Okay, parang nandito na si Sir. Again, let us welcome Sir Darwin C. Pulido. Sir, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Sir Jazz. Good afternoon, everyone. So here we are for our watch advocates for the morning session of our day 2 of the webinar. So I hope your names will be flashed on the screen because I know everyone is waiting for this. So these are our awardees. So we have Dominador A. Manon from Biao National High School. Wow. Ana Teresa G. Solatario from Pula National High School. Ang pangatlo na kasama na. We have Ma'am Audrey Ann G. Martinez. We also have Ma'am Melody J. Avila. And last but not least, we have from Emilio J. Estepona National High School, Mr. Ronel and Lupiban. Congratulations. So please make sure that you have entered your correct cell phone number and let us know if you have received your special prize, the 100 pesos worth of cell phone. Again, congratulations and good afternoon. Back to you, Sir Jazz.
Okay, thank you again, Sir Darwin Z. Pulido, for recognizing the top 5 Day 2 AM Watch Advocates. Again, magiging aral po sa atin itong lahat na kailangan natin maging maaga para magka 100 peso load. Okay, shoutout muna tayo sandali sa mga ilan mga viewers natin. Okay, from Anna Charine Kabudlan Orong, pa-shoutout po from Optasiano Hilay National High School. Okay, meron pa from it's PHI, hashtag Team PHI. Good afternoon daw. Good afternoon din po. Okay, do we have others? Okay, from Alma Labastida, good afternoon. Good afternoon din po. Okay. Hi, ma'am.
Hello, Sir Joss. It's good to be back, and thank you so much for all the teachers who are still up and actively participating into our PM session, into our day two webinar session. All right, but before anything else, I'd like to congratulate our watch advocates for our day two. And right now, we shall continue with our afternoon session breakout. And again, we will have three different breakout sessions for elementary level, junior high school level, and senior high school level with your assigned host. All right. And for the senior high school teacher participants, you will still remain in this virtual session room that you are in right now. And please check this breakout session links on your screen. As you can see on the screen right now, you can click on that, you can copy on that, and you can go to your respective virtual rooms. And we will be giving you about 2 to 3 minutes to transfer to your respective virtual sessions. Thank you. And before anything, Sir Jazz, we would like to thank also and acknowledge the effort and expertise of our technical working group and production team made by our ICT teachers and specialists from the different schools in Cluster 6. So I hope that everyone is ready and is already in their respective virtual sessions. Once again, I'm Cristal Joy Fernandez, a junior high school teacher of Mintal Comprehensive High School. Bye
And
for
this is Lechas Vicabales, Filipino junior high school teacher of Mintal Comprehensive High School. We'll see you later.
now. That's
Okay, so again, good afternoon. Muli sa ating mga viewers dyan sa mga bahay o sa paaralang kinatitirikan nyo ngayon.
Ayan, ihanda na po ang ating mga papel at lapis para po sa ating note-taking sa session.
Pero bagong lahat, shoutout muna tayo sa mga ilang viewers natin.
Okay.
Okay, from Chai17. Wow, that's actually a very good username. Laban lang, Ma'am Emily. Kung sino man
Ayan.
yung si Ma'am Emily na sinasabi dito, okay, good luck po. Okay.
Laban lang. Okay, we have another one from Maestrong Bisaya. Ayan. Maestro Bisaya John Paul. Shout out. Literally, yun po ang sinabi ni Sir. Shout out. Mm-hmm.
Meron pa po tayong ibang shoutout? Okay, from Joy Garocho. Good afternoon, everyone. Shout out from Biao National High School.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon po sa mga teacher dyan sa Biao National High School at sa inyong pong school head. Magandang hapon.
Oh,
Ayan.
from ma'am, sige ma'am.
Okay po. Sige. Sir Jemar Parentar. Okay, pa-shout out po sa PSDS ng Cluster 6, Dr. Junico Ogalan. Hashtag Sulong Edukalidad with
Mm.
Waves po. Ayan.
Sa katunayan, nandito siya sa ating studio ngayon.
Yes, ever supportive, sir, and part of our documentary team. Mm-hmm.
Okay, baka meron pang ibang shoutouts. Okay, from Denmel Paraculios Arances Boleros. Hello, everyone watching from Ohilay National High School. Hello, pretty girls from Ohilay. Okay.
Ayan, with heart pa po si Ma'am Daniel. Mm-hmm. Meron pa ba? Mm-hmm.
Baka meron pang magpapa-shoutout.
Okay, wag po kayong mahiya. You may key in or write down your comments or shoutouts on our
Okay.
comment box.
Okay, may isa pa rito from Ariel Dango. Hi, Sir Jazz. Ikaw na bago Lodi ko. Lodi ka rin kita po, Sir Ariel.
Ayan po, may bago na pong fan si Sir Jazz.
Okay, may isa na.
May isa na. Okay, from Ma'am Jackie Almada Te. Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, good afternoon po, ma'am. Good afternoon also to our teachers who are listening at home at school.
Okay, here from Teresa Oxales Manonog. Hello, Ma'am Bersil Uy, ICT Coordinator ng Los Amigos National High School.
Mm-hmm. Hello daw, Ma'am Bersil. Ayan. From Ma'am Carol Sonsona. Hello, everyone. Shout out from Team Bestipona, Emilio J. Estipona National High School. Ayan, sa mga Team Bestipona natin dyan, nangangamusta po si Miss or si Ma'am Carol Sonsona.
Okay. Again, sa mga shoutouts, marami pong salamat. Babasahin pa namin po yan mamaya. And now, for our introduction of the most essential learning competencies for science, please help me welcome Ma'am Miraflor Tiranding from Mintal Comprehensive High School.
I will be presenting today the most essential learning competencies for science in senior high school. The PowerPoint presentation that I will be using is taken from the Division Training of Teachers on LMS presented by our Education Program Supervisor, Ms. Faye Genevieve Pasamonte. My presentation today will cover these two goals. First, a comparison of the number of learning competencies in the senior high school science curriculum and MELCs. And second, a walkthrough of the science most essential learning competencies. The implementation of MELCs are still anchored with the goals of the K-12 science curriculum, which envisions to develop scientific, technological, and environmentally literate Filipino learners. With the introduction of most essential learning competencies, science educators are highly encouraged to utilize the basic approaches in the K 12 science curriculum to ensure that our learners would be able to achieve the 21st century skills even this time of pandemic crisis. Originally, the total number of LCs in core subjects, Earth and Life Science, which will be offered in the first semester, is 71. And for the second semester in Physical Science is 50. For specialized subjects in STEM, Earth Science that is offered in first semester has 41 learning competencies. And for second semester in Disaster Readiness and Risk Reduction is 49. These were based from our CG as of August 2016 version. A total of 121 LCs for core subjects and 90 LCs for specialized or STEM subjects. A total of 211 original LCs all in all. Comparatively, in our screen right now, is the actual number of milks that will be utilized for school year 2020-2021. For Earth and Life Science, 30 from its original 71 that comprise 42% of from the original. For Physical Science, 30 from 50, which is 60%. For Earth Science, 27 from 41, that is 66%. And for DRR, 36 from 49, that comprises 74%. For this school year, there will be 60 MELCs for core subjects and 63 for specialized or STEM subjects, a total of 123 MELCs compared to the original 211 learning competencies. DepEd Central Office was able to identify the most essential learning competencies or MELCs based on using the criterion for endurance. Enduring competencies are those that remains with the learners long after a test is completed or is useful beyond a single test or unit of study. They also refer to learning competencies which are essential in many professions and everyday life. Basic reason for trimming down competencies were either they have been introduced in the other grade level, and in some cases, LCs were fused instead of having separate competencies when they have the likelihood of presenting same or interrelated content. At this point, we shall have the walkthrough of most essential learning competencies or MELs in senior high school science using the three domains, namely force and energy, earth and space. Second, living things and their environment. And third, matter. The first domain, force, energy, earth, and space. In grade 11 physical science, learners develop understanding of matter, motion, electricity, magnetism, light, and the universe from ancient times to present. Applications of physics and chemistry concepts in contexts such as atmospheric phenomena, cosmology, astronomy, vision, medical instrumentation, space technology, drugs, sources of energy, pollution and recycling, fitness and health, and cosmetics. Introductory learning competencies in physical science were dropped, like these competencies, explaining what Greeks considered to be the three types of terrestrial motion, explained what is meant by diurnal motion, annual motion, precision of equinoxes. For these competencies, are already taught in junior high school. For same reason, for this competency, like compare and contrast the models, descriptions of the universe, etc., was dropped because historical in nature or further lessons involving astronomy may proceed without this. Learning competencies, explaining the Newton's three laws of motion, explaining how position versus time and velocity versus time graphs, etc., were dropped due to these concepts were already discussed in the junior high school, specifically in grade 8, as well as recognize the everyday usage of physics, usage of the term acceleration, etc., was dropped as well, for the concept was already discussed in grade 8. For our STEM grade 11 learners, Earth Science is designed to provide a general background for the understanding of the Earth on the planetary scale. It presents the history of the Earth through geologic time. It discusses the Earth's structure and composition, the process that occurs beneath and on the Earth's surface, as well as the issues, concerns, and problems pertaining to the Earth's resources. Here are some competencies that were dropped in the subject Earth Science. Recognize how water is distributed on Earth. For the same concept is already introduced in Araling Panlipunan. Identify the layers of the Earth. The topic had been discussed extensively in junior high school during the grade 8 and grade 10. Discuss evidence that support continental drift since it has been discussed in grade 10 science. Another specialized subject is disaster readiness and risk reduction. This course focuses on the application of scientific knowledge and the solution of practical problems in a physical environment. It is designed to bridge the gap between theoretical science and daily living. In DRR, here are some learning competencies that were dropped. Analyze why certain structures are more vulnerable to specific hazards than others. The concept is subsumed in the discussion of exposure to hazards.
apply precautionary and safety measures before, during, and after earthquake, for same concept had been introduced in science grade 6. Differentiate among different volcano hazards, it was subsumed that in the prior LC, which discusses various volcano-related hazards. Among STEM learners, General Physics 1 is offered in grade 12 per semester, and respectively followed by General Physics 2 in the second semester. Physics 1 explains mechanics of particles, rigid bodies and fluids, waves, and heat and trigonometry, graphical analysis, and basic calculus. In General Physics 2, electricity and magnetism, optics, the basics of special relativity, atomic and nuclear phenomena, using the methods and concepts of algebra, geometry, trigonometry, graphical analysis, and basic calculus were discussed. In General Physics 1, here are a few of the learning competencies that were dropped. Use the least count concept to estimate errors associated with single measurement, since this concept is introduced in passing when discussing solution to worded problem. Use of fact that the magnitude of acceleration due to gravity on the Earth's surface is nearly constant at approximately 9.8 meter per second squared in free fall problems, since the concept is already introduced during the junior high school. Calculate directions and magnitude of vectors, since the topic is subsumed in the discussion of prior LC, which is addition of vectors. For general physics 2, some of the drop competencies are as follows. State that there are some positive and negative charges and that charge is measured in coulombs. The topic is subsumed in the prior learning competencies, which discuss electrostatic charging. And for another competency on Ohm's law was also dropped because Ohm's law is already introduced in grade 8. So planning and perform an experiment involving optical polarization was dropped, for there is no sufficient laboratory equipment provided yet to school to carry out this activity. Second domain, living things and their environment. During grade 11 in core subject Earth and Life Science, learners deals with the basic principles and the processes in the study of biology, and it also covers the life processes and interactions at the cellular, organism, population, and ecosystem level. There's a drop competency in quarter 2, week 1, day 2. Describe classic experiment that model condition which may have enabled the first form to evolve. It was dropped because this LC already captured in some learning competency in the grade 7 to grade 10 during the junior high school. Another drop competency in Earth and Life Science is explaining how cells carry out function required for life. It was dropped because these concepts were already covered in grade 9 and some learning competencies during the junior high school. Other competencies on energy flow and its utilization were dropped because these concepts were already discussed or covered in grade 9 during the junior high. Some competencies that were taught in grade 5 were dropped. This includes describe the different ways on how plants reproduce, illustrate the relationships among structures of flowers, fruits, and seeds. Another job competency which tackles the principles of the ecosystems, for it was taught in junior high school. Another competency that describes how different terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem are interlinked with one another was dropped since it was discussed in elementary and in grade 7. For STEM learners, General Biology 1 is offered in grade 12 first semester and General Biology 2 in grade 12 second semester. Gen Bio 1 is designed to enhance the understanding of principles and concepts in the study of biology, particularly life processes at the cellular and molecular levels. It also covers the transformation of energy in organisms. Gen Bio 2 is designed to enhance the understanding of the principles and concept in the study of biology, particularly heredity and variation, and the diversity of living organisms, their structure, function, and evolution. A drop competency in Gen Bio 1 discusses crossing over and recombination in meiosis. It was dropped since the described stages of mitosis and meiosis were already subsumed in another STEM bio competency. Additional general biology 1 competencies that were dropped, like categorize the biological molecules, lipids, carbohydrates, proteins, and nucleic acids according to their structure and functions, explaining the role of each biological molecule in specific metabolic process were dropped since these competencies are covered in grade 10 and general chemistry 1. Same reason, like predicting genotypes and phenotypes of parents and offspring using the laws of inheritance, explaining sex link and recombination, describing modifications to Mendel classic ratios were dropped since these competencies were discussed in Science Grade 8 and Science Grade 9. There were some learning competencies pertaining on central dogma that were dropped, like illustrate the molecular structure of DNA, RNA, and proteins, diagram the steps in DNA replication and protein synthesis. These two competencies were dropped since all of these competencies were covered and thoroughly discussed in grade 10. In general biology too, there were learning competencies that were merged into one most essential learning competencies, example of which are these. Explain how some organisms maintain steady internal conditions that possess various structures and processes. Describe example of homeostasis. These two competencies were merged into one MELCS, which is explain how some organisms maintain steady internal conditions. The last domain in our MELCS walkthrough is the third domain, which pertains about matter. Among our STEM learners, General Chemistry 1 and General Chemistry 2 are offered in the grade 12 during the first and second semester respectively. These subjects discuss composition, structure, and properties of matter, quantitative principles, kinetics, and energetics of transformation of matter, and fundamental concepts of organic chemistry. A drop learning competency under General Chemistry 1 is to distinguish between physical and chemical properties and giving example of which. These were covered in some learning competencies during the elementary and in the junior high school. Several competencies which tackles differences between pure substance and mixtures, differentiating between elements and compounds, differentiating between homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures were dropped due to the reason that these are covered during elementary science competencies as well as in the junior high school science. An LC in General Chemistry 1 was rephrased. Example, apply simple separation techniques such as distillation chromatography. It was rephrased to AMELX, which describes various simple separation techniques such as distillation chromatography, considering that our learners can no longer perform such experiment during this pandemic. For same reason, this competency in chemistry 2 was dropped, like describe the different types of solution since we can no longer perform this in the laboratory. Another LC in general chemistry 2 was rephrased, like performance in the lab of acid-base titration to determine the concentration of solution was rephrased into a MELCS, describe laboratory procedures in determining concentration of solutions since this lab activity can no longer be performed by our student. Explaining the effect of temperature on the rate of a reaction and determining the pH of a solution on a weak acid or weak base were dropped since these were covered in other STEM competency. These are some of the key points to note in utilizing our most essential learning competency. First, the key stage and grade level standards are retained. Second, it is not a departure from the K to 12 basic education science curriculum. Third, it retains the same vision of developing scientific, technological, and environmental literacy. And third, the LCs were trimmed down to the most essential competencies that will be used during this pandemic crisis. I would like to quote these two succeeding slides from our EPS in Science in the senior high school, Ma'am Faye Genevieve Pasamonte, that MELCs are the same learning competencies, they are only trimmed down. These are broad statements and need to be unpacked. The alignment between the most essential learning competencies and the content standards and performance standards are essential. And always take note the time allocation is flexible.
Okay, again, ma'am, thank you for that walkthrough of our most essential learning competencies and science. At
Okay.
para samahan tayo ngayon, narito live si Ma'am Miraflor T. Randing. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, good afternoon, Ma'am Teen and Sir Jazz. Good
Mm-hmm.
Good
afternoon to
afternoon,
all
ma'am.
the teachers in Cluster 6, especially to our school heads as well as to our PSDS, Dr. Junito Ogalan.
Mhm. Okay, so let's request or I would like to request our webinar director to please post on screen the questions of our teacher participants. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So habang naghihintay po tayo sa mga tanong, ma'am, tanong ko lang po, kamusta po yung buhay-buhay natin?
Yes,
I,
ma'am, here.
fine. We have series of webinars for the previous days, and it's still a I'm still on the coping mechanism for how to really prepare myself for this new normal,
Mm-hmm.
especially in our in science.
Mm-hmm. I can actually feel the degree of the preparation, Mamir. Knowing you, you're that kind of person, no, na very OC na dapat everything is really, well polished na ready lahat. So, what more sa ating mga teacher participants and sa amin ang mga teachers, no? So, thank you so much, Mamira, for that comprehensive presentation. So, are there any questions from coming from our teacher participants? We have one, but this is not a question actually. Still from one of the teachers, senior high school teachers of Miguel Comprehensive High School. Support siya, Ma'am Mira, ha? Si Ma'am Jovi Andoy Dulay. Wow, congrats, Ma'am Mira. Supporting kayo sila.
Thank you, Ma'am Jovi. Kasamahan namin sa ICE team at saka tour ko talaga yun sa senior high school.
Ganun
Yes.
po ba?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, antay po tayo sa meron po dito. Okay, so it's some kind of a shout out from Ludit Santos. Basahin lang natin kahit konti. Watching from Santo Niño National High School. Pa-shout out po para sa mga Ninyans.
Mm-hmm.
Oo.
Okay.
Hi po, taga Santo Niño. Hi, Ma'am Rudy. Former colleague ko din po siya from Santo Niño National High School.
Ganun po ba? Okay,
Yes.
Ma'am Rudy, 3 cards daw.
From Ma'am Ruthie.
Okay, antay pa tayo sa ibang mga questions. Ma'am?
Okay, from Ma'am Eunice Racoma Gentiles. Congrats, Ma'am Mira Flor, Tamparong Randing. Congrats, Ma'am.
Ay, thank you, Ma'am Eunice. Megs ko po yan from Optasiano, Hilay.
Oh, ang daming fans ni ma'am. Okay, baka may mga questions po dyan,
Ang
mga
daming
viewers.
supporters.
Yeah,
Pwede ka,
baka natatakot sila sa iyo, Ma'am Mira. Kaya ayaw magtanong.
yun po. Pwede po na po kayong tumakbo. Okay,
Ayan.
meron pa tayo rito from Ma'am Leilani Cañete Tan. It's not a question, but actually a greeting. Congrats, Ma'am Landing.
Ay, hello po, Ma'am Lailani. Former kasamahan ko rin siya from Santo Niño before.
Ang daming kakilala ni Ma'am.
Ay,
Okay, from one of the most beautiful teachers.
Okay, I would
Yeah.
say Quintal Comprehensive High School, Senior High School, Ma'am Army Kim. Congrats, Ma'am Mira. We love you from Team Senior High School MCHS. Hearts.
Thank you for the support, senior high school family from MCHS, and also to our baby girl, Army Kim.
Okay, tingnan pa natin. Baka may mga questions pa.
Mga questions.
Oh, from Juvie Digamo, hindi pa rin question, but again, it's a form of greeting. Congrats, Mamir.
Thank you, Ma'am Juvie.
Okay. Oh, meron pa rito, ma'am.
Meron po nagbabalik. Sir Jamor Parentar, Quintal Comprehensive High School. Congrats po, Ma'am Ears. Ayan.
Thank you, Sir Jemar. Pa-shoutout po ko sa lahat ng kasama namin sa Mental Compress, especially po yung mga kasama namin dito din, sila Sir Norman at saka si Sir Darwin, together with my term, Ma'am Rosaline Batingal. Wala
Mhm.
po ba?
Ayan, Ma'am
Okay.
Mira, were you informed that you will be interrogated this afternoon
Actually,
by us?
yeah, um, sort of.
Okay, so we have prepared a few questions po. This one is, we will base it on the guidelines on the use of the most essential learning competencies po. Ma'am Mir, we just want to hear your insights or your comment about this. What will happen po sa mga dropped na competencies po? I mean, how will it affect the students?
Based on the presentation that I have given earlier, some of these drop competencies actually were learned by our students. It's just like a review. So those learned competencies are mostly the drop competencies, but those that were just rephrased, these competencies actually are just those competencies that can't be performed in the modality that we are having right now. So some of them, like lab experiments, instead of having the actual, or shall we say, students to stimulate process, we're
Yes,
just going to have, most of us might be limited. So
yes,
it might be more on simulations, and our students would just be describing the process since it cannot be observed in the laboratory setup,
okay.
considering that we're having online and modules or the self-learning kits.
And just a follow-up question po, ma'am, because we're always hoping for the best di ba po, ma'am. What if okay na po yung status ng ating bansa, to like nawala na po yung COVID or this pandemic, what will happen po, let's say, sa December? Ano pong gagawin natin sa mga drop competencies? Do we still need to introduce it or drop it for the whole school year?
Of course,
Simulation
there
lang
are
yung mga experience ng mga
uh,
bata before.
I guess there would be still protocols that will be observed. As a teacher, we're going to follow. If there would be memorandum that we're going to stick to the MELCs, then of course we'll follow the MELCs. But if there would be new memo released by the division office or from the central office that we're going to utilize already the CG, then well and good. Because as we all know, as we observe the K to 12 program, it's a spiral progression. So sometimes these competencies were forgotten by our student already. And of course, a brief
Yes.
review would be a very helpful tool in order for our student to prepare for a new content. But somehow, since we are facing the pandemic right now, and we need to limit as well the content, so the most essential ones are the one chosen that would be necessary to be taught in this school year.
Yes, ma'am. So my question was, is Sir Raz, sir?
Wala na po kasi parang na cover na po lahat. But again, ma'am, Miraflor Randing, congratulations and thank you for giving those insights. And we do hope that you will still continue on thriving on to becoming a very, very model for all of us teachers.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
so
it's good,
much.
mom. Yeah, it's good, mom, here that you made mention of the review part, knowing that not all our parents know this spiral progression, no? So it's good that you made mention of the review part because as they were listening to you, I hope that they did not get the wrong information, knowing that you made mention of this physical terminology that the students have already taken this during their grade eight, and you dropped also these like layers of the earth in their social sciences. It's good that you have highlighted that part. No, no, it's a review.
Okay.
Yes, most of those drop competencies actually are learned by the students in the lower years, and those are just incorporated in the CGs to serve as a review component in order for them to prepare for another leap of content.
Okay. So what if, ma'am, is it also okay to just like follow the map since flexible naman siya, like ma-meet naman talaga niya yung mga dapat na ma-meet or ma-develop ng mga skills ng mga bata, like for the next school year. Is it possible? Or better na talaga yung i-follow is yung curriculum guide version 2016? Is there a difference between the two, aside from the simulation, aside from we are considering the pandemic, the virus that is happening?
I guess, as I've made mention in the last two slides, the teachers are they have the flexibility of time. It's just a matter of creativity of the teacher, and of course, we know we can gauge our students what are the things that they could absorb, right? So definitely you can't give chunks that they can swallow, right? So it's better if you know how to make learning fun at the same time. It would have or it could be retained, because it would be useless if you're going to give them bulk and bulk of this, and it can no longer be sustained by the students. So learning should be fun at the same time, the dynamics, and it should be loved by the students, especially in our subject area science.
Mhm. So thank you so much for that one, ma'am, because I believe hindi lang po mga teachers ang nanonood sa ating live broadcast ngayon. Meron tayong mga students, mga incoming students, senior high school students, and parents as well. So thank you so much for that.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so before po natin i-out si ma'am sa screen, we will have a little, would like to read some comments from one of her friends from Santa Fe National High School. Very well explained, ma'am Mira. Ayan.
Okay. Thank you, Ma'am Lailani.
Okay, meron bang isa from Sir Jun Pepito Neri? Mamira Pagarpar, Queen of messages.
Yes, as always.
Ay my gosh, nakakahiya yun.
Okay, baka meron pang isa.
And,
Okay.
ayan, meron pa po. From Sir Ariel Dango, Hi, Ma'am Randing, guwapa sa personal sa YouTube. Ayan.
Ay, thank you po, Sir Ariel.
Ayan.
Okay, and last but not least, from Inks Carol, good job, Ma'am Mir.
Ayan. Good job.
Thank you po, Ma'am Carol.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Mayor.
Okay.
Have a blast. Okay, and now we will proceed to our next presenter. We have, sir.
Okay, sa hapong ito, live na ipapakita o ay lalahad yung walkthrough ng most essential learning competencies ng Filipino. Please, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Mr. Louis Mark John Paul T. Cabugos of Los Amigos National High School. Sir?
Hello, Letjas. Naririnig ba ako? Hello, ma'am. Magandang
Hi,
hapon.
sir. Sir JP.
Malinaw ba ang aking audio? Okay ba?
Yes, sir. Malinaw po na malinaw.
Okay. Kanina kasi hindi nabasa yung aking shout out kaninang umaga, pero ang sabi ko talaga doon, napakagaling ninyong dalawa. Unang-una,
Ano po sa inyo, sir?
sa boses na talagang complementary talaga, no? Especially kay Letjas buong buo at ito naman kay Ma'am, suwabing-suwabe.
Maraming salamat po. Gusto
Thank you,
lang po
sir.
namin ibahagi sa ating mga teacher participants na si Sir JP po ay tinaguri ang ama ni Sir Jazz. Okay, considering po sa tala. Opo. At isa po siya sa aming trainers before. That's why kung pag-uusapan po ang mga pag-broadcast, pag-live, si Sir JP po ang bihasa sa bagay niya.
Kaya ako nga ay talagang masayang-masaya kaninang umaga sapagkat ginamit ninyo yung mga natutunan niyo no, sa mga nakaraang mga pagsasanay. Maraming salamat din.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so magsisimula na ako sa aking pagpapakita sa aking presentasyon. Pero bago yan, magbibigay muna ako ng pugay sa ating tagapamanihalang pansangay ng lungsod ng Davao, Dr. Reynaldo Guillena. At sa aking EPS sa Pilipino na si Dr. Rinepi Sultan, sa ating PSDS naman o Tagamasid Pampurok na walang iba kundi si Dr. Julito Ogalan. Sir, magandang hapon po. At higit sa lahat sa ating mga punong guro sa iba't ibang paaralan na bumubuo sa Cluster 6, higit sa lahat sa aking punong guro sa Los Amigos National High School, walang iba kundi si Ginoong Raul A. Kabilogan. Sir, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Ngayon po, ngayong hapon na ito, ibabahagi ko sa inyo ang oryentasyon sa paggamit ng pinakamahalagang kasanayang pampagkatuto sa senior high school. Pero ang lahat ng ito ay nakasandig sa liwanag ng karunungan ng aming EPS na si Dr. Rinetti Sultan. Sa ating technical director, hayaan niyo po ibahagi ko sa inyo ang aking screen. Okay, simulan na natin ang ating pagtalakay sa MELCS natin o sa pinakamahalagang kasanayang pampagkatuto sa senior high school. Pero bago yan, alam natin na ang asignaturang Filipino ay talagang humaharap sa matinding pagsubok sa kadahilan ng unang-una ay maraming kulang sa mga guro sa Pilipino, higit sa lahat sa junior high school at sa senior high school. Kaya nga binabati ko rin at hindi ko rin makakalimutan sa puso ko ang lahat ng mga guro na hindi naman kumuha ng major sa Pilipino o degree sa Pilipino, ngunit nagtuturo pa rin ng Pilipino sa iba't ibang antas ng pag-aaral. So isang pagsaludo po sa inyong lahat. Ating simulan. Balikan muna natin po ang konseptual na balangkas sa pagtuturo ng Filipino sa K-12. So nasa teorya po ng pagkatuto sa wika, nakasalalay o nakaangkla ang pagtuturo at pag-aaral sa Filipino. At kung mapapansin natin, nasa sentro ng programa ang mga mag-aaral bilang pangunahing benepisyaryo ng ating programa. At makikita natin na inaasahan sa kanila na sa 12 taong pag-aaral sa K-12 ay na-master na nila ang 4 na makrong kasanayan, ang pakikinig, pagbasa, pagsasalita, pagsulat, at isama na rin natin doon ang mapanuri sa kanilang pinapanood. At higit sa lahat, inaasahan din natin sa kanila na sila'y magiging buo at ganap na Pilipino na may kapaki-pakinabang na literacy. Pag sasabihin natin kapaki-pakinabang na literacy, ang mga kasanayang natutunan nila mula sa elementarya, junior high school at senior high school at maging sa kolehiyo ay magagamit nila sa tunay na hamon ng buhay. So ano ba ang dapat na malinang sa mga mag-aaral sa senior high school? Unang-una, ito ay ang kakayahang komunikatibo. Ito man ay pasalita or pasulat. Pangalawa, ang pagiging reflektibo at pagkakaroon ng tinatawag nating mapanuring pag-iisip. At ang panghuli ay ang pagpapahalagang pampanitikan. Ang tanong dito ay kung papaano ito mamamaster o matututunan o malilinang. Malilinang ito sa pamamagitan ng tinatawag nating mga babasahin at teknolohiya. At ang pangunahing kalalabasan nito ay ang malinang sa mga mag-aaral ang tinatawag na pambansang pagkakakilanlan, pagkakaroon ng kultural na literacy, at patuloy na pagkatuto. At higit sa lahat, ganun din upang makaagapay sa mabilis na pagbabagong nagaganap sa ating daigdig. Kung pag-uusapan ang mga kasanayang pampagkatuto sa Pilipino mula baitang 1 hanggang 12, ay binubuo ito ng abot sa 2,378 mga kasanayang pampagkatuto. Pero dahil nga sa pangangailangan ng sitwasyon at panahon, dahil sa pandemya, dahil sa COVID-19, ang 2,378 mga kasanayang pampagkatuto ay pinaikli at tinukoy ang tinatawag nating mga mahahalagang kasanayang pampagkatuto na makikita natin dito na aabot na lamang sa 1,700 po. Pero dahil nga sa pagnanais ng mga dalubhasa na maging payak at simple ang mga kasanayang ito, dahil nga sa ating nararanasan ngayon, mas pinaikli pa ito at dito na lumabas yung kapaki-pakinabang, yung tinatawag nating pinakamahalagang kasanayang pampagkatuto na aabot na lamang sa 708. Kung titingnan natin, aabot na lamang sa umigit kumulang sa 30 bahagdan mula doon sa kabuuang kasanayang pampagkatuto sa orihinal nating gabay pang curriculum. Ano bang proseso ang pinagdaanan upang mapili at mabuo ang mga kasanayang ito sa MELC? Una, ang pangunahing pamantayan talaga ay ang tinatawag nating endurance. Pag sasabihin nating endurance, ito ay ang tinatawag nating pangmatagalang kasanayan. Ibig sabihin yan, pangmatagalan, dahil ito ay maaaring gamitin sa pag-aaral ng iba pang mga kasanayan, maging sa ibang mga asignatura, at pwede rin sa mga kasanayan sa Filipino. At kadalasan makikita yan sa mga kasanayan ito, sa mga kasanayan sa pananaliksik, pagbasa, pagsulat, pagbasa ng mapa, at ang tinatawag nating hypothesis testing o pagsubok sa mga palagay. Bakit endurance? Endurance sapagkat ang mga kasanayan ay dapat nagagamit sa totoong buhay. At kapansin-pansin na halos lahat ng mga kasanayang pampagkatuto sa senior high school sa Pilipino ay talagang gamit na gamit, lalo na pagdating sa kolehiyo. At pangalawa, endurance sapagkat ang mga kasanayang ito ay lubhang kailangan upang matutunan ang iba pang mga asignatura. Kaya nga meron tayong tinatawag na spiral curriculum. Habang tumatagal, parang tanduay lang yan. Habang tumatagal, lalong sumasarap. O sa atin, habang tumatagal, mas pinapalalim ang pagtalakay. Ngunit, hindi pa rin natin makakaligtaan na isaalang-alang ang mga pamantayan sa bawat baitang. Ang mga prosesong pinagdaanan upang magkaroon tayo ng mga tiyak na MELCs o ng mga kasanayang pampagkatuto ay dumaan sa tinatawag nating mga proseso. May ilan sa mga kasanayang pampagkatuto na talagang pinanatili. Pangalawa, pinagsama. Yung iba, tinanggal. At yung iba naman, parang inayos lang. Pinanatili sapagkat ang mga kasanayang ito ay umayon lamang sa kriteria at may malaking gampanin na makamit ang inaasahang malinang sa pagtamo ng kasanayan sa susunod na mga baitang. Pinagsama, kung may pagkakatulad sa mga kasanayang ito, sa layunin ng mga kasanayang ito, kaya sila pinagsama sa isang komprehensibong kasanayang pagkatuto. At kung tinanggal naman siya, dahil may tiyak na pag-uulit at pagkakatulad sa mga layunin na pinagsama na itinuturing na di pa ganap na ituro at linangin at mahirap na maisagawa sa level ng ating mga mag-aaral. At may mga kasanayang pampagkatuto na inayos lamang sapagkat ito ay tumpak na at kailangan lamang na linangin. Punta tayo dito sa senior high school. Pag-usapan natin ang core subjects. Kung pag-uusapan ng core subjects, may dalawang asignatura dito. Una, ang komunikasyon at pananaliksik sa wika at kulturang Pilipino, at ang pangalawa ay ang pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik. Kung pag-uusapan naman ang senior high school, iba ito sa junior high school sapagkat ang senior high school ay binubuo ng tinatawag natin mga semestre. At sa bawat semestre, merong 2 quarter yan. Kaya sa baitang 11, baitang 11, ang komunikasyon at pananaliksik sa wika at kulturang Pilipino ay itinuturo sa unang semestre, unang 2 quarter. At pagdating naman ng ikalawang semestre, ang pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik. Pag-usapan natin ang pamantayang pangnilalaman. Makikita natin dito sa unang quarter na nauunawaan ang mga konsepto, elementong kultural, kasaysayan at gamit ng wika sa lipunang Pilipino. Ibig sabihin niyan, hindi pa rin nawawala yung pag-aaral sa kultura, sa konsepto, sa kasaysayan at gamit ng wika. Dahil yun naman talaga ang talagang pinakatampok sa asignaturang Pilipino, ang matutunan natin ng ating sariling wika. Sa pangalawang quarter, nauunawaan ng may masusing pagsasaalang-alang ang mga linguistiko at kultural na katangian at pagkakaiba-iba sa lipunang Pilipino at mga sitwasyon ng paggamit ng wika dito. Narito naman ang pamantayan sa pagganap para sa komunikasyon, nakagagawa ng isang sanaysay batay sa isang panayam tungkol sa aspektong kultural o linguistiko ng napiling komunidad. Sa pangalawang quarter naman, nakasusulat ng isang panimulang pananaliksik sa mga penomenang kultural at panlipunan sa bansa. Pagbasa at pagsuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik, ang pamantayang pangnilalaman, makikita natin at halatang halata na ito ay nakapokus sa pagbasa at pagsulat. Nasusuri ang iba't ibang uri ng binasang teksto ayon sa kaugnayan nito sa sarili, pamilya, komunidad, bansa at daigdig. At sa ikalawang quarter o sa panghuling quarter naman, ito ay sa pang-apat na quarter na nakasusunod sa pamantayan ng pagsulat ng masinop na pananaliksik. Narito naman tayo sa pamantayan sa pagganap, nakasusulat ng isang panimulang pananaliksik sa mga penomenang kultural at panlipunan sa bansa. At ang panghuli ay ang nakabubuo ng isang maikling pananaliksik na napapanahon ang paksa. So yan ang ating core subjects, no? Walang binago dito sa mga pamantayang pangnilalaman at pamantayan sa pagganap. Sa applied subjects naman, meron tayong apat, depende kung ano ang inihahain ng inyong paaralan o ano yung offerings ng inyong paaralan, depende yan. Kasi meron tayong Filipino sa piling larang academic, meron tayong Filipino sa piling larang sports, meron tayong sa sining at disenyo, at meron din tayo para sa technical vocational. Kung mapapansin natin dito, sa pamantayang pangnilalaman, kapansin-pansin na halos magkatulad lamang ang kanilang pamantayang pangnilalaman, pero nag-iiba sa kung anong strand ang kinuha ng bata. Siya ba ay nasa academic, sports, disenyo o techvoc? Basahin ko lang muna itong una. Nauunawaan ang kalikasan, layunin at paraan ng pagsulat ng iba't ibang anyo ng sulating ginagamit sa pag-aaral sa iba't ibang larangan, pero sa academic ito. Pagdating naman sa sports naman. Sining at disenyo, techvoc, techvoc. Pero pagdating dito sa pamantayan sa pagganap, makikita natin na iba-iba ang hinihingi ng bawat asignatura. Dito para sa academic, nakabubuo ng malikhaing portfolio ng mga orihinal na sulating academic ayon sa format at technique. Iba naman sa sports, sapagkat sa sports, nakabubuo ng isang pahayagang pang-sports o newsletter, no? Na ang nakalagay doon halos lahat mga balitang pampalakasan. Dito naman sa sining at disenyo, magazine, pansining o pangdisenyo. At dito naman sa technical vocational, isang manual ng isang piniling sulating technical vocational. So itong Filipino sa piling larang ay kadalasang itinuturo sa baitang 12, pero nakadepende pa rin yan sa iba kung ito ba ay maaaring ituro sa baitang 11. Depende kasi sa bawat strand ay may iba't ibang elective. Okay? So yan sa applied subjects. Now, tingnan naman natin dito ang bilang ng kasanayang pampagkatuto mula sa original na gabay pang curriculum versus MELCS natin. Kung pag-uusapan sa senior high school, sa komunikasyon at pananaliksik sa wika at kulturang Pilipino, sa unang quarter ay meron lamang siyang 16 na kasanayang pampagkatuto mula sa original na gabay pang curriculum. Pero pagdating sa MELCS, naging 13 na lamang, nawala yung 3 o baka naman tinanggal, malalaman natin yan mamaya. Sa kalawang quarter, may 17 sa original na gabay pang curriculum, 16 na lang sa MELCS, tinanggalan ng isa. So ang kabuuan, meron tayong 33 kasanayang pampagkatuto sa original na gabay pang curriculum, pero 29 na lang sa ating MELCS. Pero kung titingnan nyo dito sa pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto tungo sa pananaliksik, makikitang walang pagbabagong nangyari maaring sabihin natin ang mga kasanayang pampagkatuto para sa pagbasa at pagsusuri ng iba't ibang teksto ay talagang napakahalaga sapagkat hindi naman masyadong marami ang mga kasanayan dito. So, parang ang dahilan nito na hindi binago sapagkat ang lahat ng mga kasanayan ay napakahalaga na dapat matutunan ng mga mag-aaral natin. Punta tayo sa applied subjects. Sa Filipino sa piling larang academic, sa buong semestre, meron siyang 15 kasanayang pampagkatuto sa orihinal na gabay pang curriculum. Pero pagdating sa MELS, meron na lamang tayong 14. Sa Filipino sa piling larang textbook, ang orihinal merong 9, pagdating sa MELS, 8 na lang. Sa ating Filipino sa piling larang sports, 10 sa original na gabay pang curriculum, 9 na lang pagdating sa MELCS. At sa sining at disenyo naman, 10, 9 na lang din pagdating sa MELCS. So, ibig sabihin niya, malalaman natin maya-maya kung ano yung mga dahilan. Dito tayo, makikita natin ang halimbawang pinagdaan ng proseso ng ating original na gabay pang curriculum patungong MELCS, komunikasyon at pananaliksik sa wika at kulturang Pilipino. Mapapansin natin sa gawing kaliwa ng ating screen ang mga kasanayang pampagkatuto mula sa original na CG. Nakasaad na iuugnay ang mga konseptong pangwika sa mga napakinggang sitwasyong pangkomunikasyon sa radyo, talumpati at mga panayam. Pangalawa, na iuugnay ang mga konseptong pangwika sa mga napanood na sitwasyong pangkomunikasyon sa telebisyon. Halimbawa, Tonight with Arnold Clavio, State of the Nation, Maring Winnie, Word of the Lord, at nakalagay rin dyan ang tinatawag na URL. Pansinin natin ang pandiwang ginamit na iuugnay, konseptong pangwika, dito naman konseptong pangwika sa mga napanood. Kaya napagkasunduan na ito'y pagsamahin. Ano yung dahilan? Isa lamang ang kasanayang gustong linangin sa kasanayang pampagkatuto na nakalista sa gabay pang curriculum o CG, kaya minabuting pagsama-samahin na lang ang mga ito. At ito na ngayon yung resulta ng ating MELC o ng MELC na talaga ngayon na pinagsama na. Sa mga guro natin na may kopya ng gabay pang curriculum, tingnan natin. Ito na na iuugnay ang mga konseptong pangwika sa mga napakinggan, napanood na sitwasyong pangkomunikasyon sa radyo, talumpati, mga panayam at telebisyon. So, pinag-isa lamang siya, pinagsama. Dito naman tayo, meron din tayong kasanayang pampagkatuto sa original na CG, sa komunikasyon pa rin, nagagamit ang mga cohesive device sa pagpapaliwanag at pagbibigay halimbawa sa mga gamit ng wika sa lipunan. Pero kung titingnan natin sa MELCS, ito ay wala na sapagkat ito'y tinanggal. Dahilan, maaaring sabihing tinanggal ito sapagkat inaasahang natututunan na ng mga mag-aaral ang tamang paggamit ng cohesive devices sa pagpapaliwanag at pagbibigay ng halimbawa sa elementarya at junior high school. Yan. Dito naman, sa kasanayang pagkatuto pa rin, dito sa komunikasyon na ipaliliwanag ng pasalita ang gamit ng wika sa lipunan sa pamamagitan ng mga pagbibigay. Halimbawa, na pagkasunduan na ito ay ayusin. Dahilan, maaaring sabihing inayos ito at tinanggal ang bahaging sugnay ng pasalita dahil ang pagpapaliwanag ay maaaring idaan sa paraang pagsulat o di kaya ay sa pasalita. So dito na, tinanggal na, mas pinaikli na. Kung mapapansin natin, simple, payak at direkta na ngayon ang kasanayang pampagkatuto dito sa MELC natin. So ito na na ipaliliwanag ang gamit ng wika sa lipunan sa pamamagitan ng mga pagbibigay halimbawa. So, papakita ko ulit sa inyo ang bilang ng mga kasanayang pampagkatuto. Yun yung mga dahilan kung bakit pansinin nyo dito sa komunikasyon na may nawala. Hindi naman masyadong marami yung nawala, pero may nawala talaga. Mula sa kabuang 33 kasanayang pampagkatuto, ngayon naging 29 na lamang. Pero sa pagbasa, ganun pa rin. Ang tanong ay, Paano ba gamitin ang mga MELP? Unang-una, ang mga guro ay binibigyang kalayaan para himay-himayin ang mga MELP para sa mga tiyak na kasanayang pampagkatuto. At nasisiguro ko na ito ay alam na ng lahat ng ating kaguruan na kapag tayo ay may kasanayang pampagkatuto, mula doon ay bubuo tayo ng tinatawag na mga layunin. Kaya nga, himay-himayin. Okay? At minabuti rin na dapat alam din ng guro ang aktwal na halimbawa ng listahan ng MELCs para hindi siya malito. Makikita natin, halimbawa dito, makikita pa rin natin yung content standards, yung pamantayang pangnilalaman, pamantayan sa pagganap, at yung kasanayang pampagkatuto, yung pinakamahalagang kasanayan. Makikita natin dito at yung haba ng pagtuturo at yung code mismo. So, pumili ng magkakasamang MELC na sasakto para sa 8 linggo. Maaring sumangguni din sa gabay pang kurikulum sa pagpapasyang ito at mahalaga ang matarget ang mga kasanayang pampagkatuto na matatagpuan sa ating MELC sa bawat baitang. Yan yung pinakamahalaga. Yan naman talaga yung tunguhin natin na matarget ang lahat ng mga kasanayang pampagkatuto na ibinigay sa atin sa pamamagitan ng mga MELCs. Narito naman ang ilang obserbasyon sa orihinal na gabay pang curriculum versus MELC sa ilang asignatura sa Pilipino. Dito tayo sa applied, no? Applied subjects sa Filipino 12 academic. Pansinin yung mga nakabilog, no? May mga kasanayan dito, halimbawa sa orihinal na CG na isasagawa ng mataman ang mga hakbang sa pagsulat ng mga piniling akademikong sulatin. Pero pagdating sa MELC ay pinalitan o parang naiba na sapagkat dito nakasusulat ng maayos na nakasusulat ng maayos na akademikong sulatin na. Ibig sabihin, binago siya, kumbaga pa inayos siya, no? Dito naman napagtitibay ang natamong kasanayan sa pagsulat ng talumpati sa pamamagitan ng pinakinggang halimbawa. Pero pagdating sa MELC, nakasusulat ng talumpati batay sa napakinggang halimbawa. So, hindi naman siya masyadong talagang totally binago, pero nandun ang tinatawag nating pagsasaayos. Hindi naman nawala yung kanyang tunguhin dito. Halimbawa, dito sa talumpati, nandyan pa rin. Pagdating dito sa MELC, nandito pa rin siya. So, yan ang mga ilang mga obserbasyon, no, sa Filipino 12 Academic. Ito pa, nakikilala ang mga katangian ng mahusay na sulating akademiko sa pamamagitan ng mga binasang halimbawa. Pero pagdating sa MELC, natutukoy ang katangian ng isang sulating akademiko. Kung mapapansin ninyo, talagang ginawang payak, simple at direkta ang tinatawag na mga kasanayang pampagkatuto. At pansinin ninyo, sa orihinal na gabay pang kurikulum sa bandang ibaba sa Pilipino, mga kapwa ko guro sa Pilipino sa senior high school, makikita natin na sa final output ay meron pa ring mga kasanayang pampagkatuto doon. Ito, halimbawa, pero pagdating sa MELC, ito ay tinanggal na sapagkat hindi na, parang hindi na kailangan ng final output dahil nga sa ating nararanasan ngayon sa pandemya sa COVID-19. Kasi dito nakabubuo ng portfolio ng mga produktong sulatin. Pagdating sa MELC, wala na ito. Okay? Ito naman sa Filipinos 12 sports. Ganun din, no? Nakasusunod sa mga panuto ng pinapanood na programang pang-sports. Pero pagdating dito sa tinatawag nating MELC, na itatala ang mga panuto. So, naiba yung pandiwa. Nakasusunod sa una, pangalawa sa MELC dito na itatala. Pero nandun pa rin yung tinatawag nating rules o mga panuto sa mga programang pang-sports. Ayan. At ganun pa rin, sa bandang huli ng ating gabay pang kurikulum para sa asignaturang ito, yung final output na kasanayang pampagkatuto ay tinanggal na sa MELC. Ganoon din sa Filipino 12, techbook at sining at disenyo. Tanging ang pinal na output lamang sa bandang huli ng orihinal na gabay pang kurikulum ang tinanggal sa MELCs. Kaya nga ipapakita ko sa inyo dito ngayon yung aktual na bilang. Mapapansin natin sa academic, isa lang yung tinanggal kasi nga sa bandang hulihan lang yung tinanggal sa naturang gabay pang kurikulum. Ganun din sa TechVo, sa sports, ganun din, at maging sa sining at disenyo. Mga paalala, binibigyang laya ang mga guro na makapamili ng mga magkakasamang MELC sa bawat linggo. So ang layunin sa pagpili ng mga MELC ay hindi upang palitan ang kasalukuyang curriculum guide, kundi upang magabayan ang mga guro sa pagtukoy ng mga kompetensing mas kinakailangan ng mga mag-aaral sa taong panuruang 2020-2021. Pero hinihikayat pa rin ang mga guro na sumangguni sa ating orihinal na curriculum guide o gabay pang curriculum para sa asignaturang Filipino. Yan lamang siguro ang aking presentasyon sa hapong ito. Ako muli, si Ginoong Louis Mark John Paul Cabugos. Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig. Ayan. Mga host, Sir Letjas. Ayan.
Okay, again, sir, maraming salamat po sa iyong pagbibigay o paglalahad ng iyong mga punto hinggil sa binago o mas pinasimple, mas pinapayak at mas pinadirektang mahahalagang kasanayang pagkatuto, sir.
Mhm.
At sa
Maraming
tingin ko, sir, okay po. Sige po, sir.
Sige. Go. Go, ma'am.
Sa tingin ko po, sir, magkakaintindihan kayo ni Sir Jazz kasi po siya rin po ay isang guro sa Filipino. Umihin po sa aking mga terminolohiya sapagkat hindi po ako bihasa sa wikang Filipino.
Oh. Hello, Letjas.
Magandang hapon po, sir.
Kumusta naman?
Okay lang po, sir.
Good.
Ayan.
Okay, sir. Ngayon, aantayin po natin yung ilan sa mga tanong o baka greetings po para sa inyo po, sir. Sandali lang po,
Sige.
Okay, first and foremost mula kay Jonalyn Bacaro, loud and clear, Ginoong Louis Mark John Paul Cabugos, my salute to you.
Binayaran ko yan siya kanina. Kasamahan ko kasi yan sa senior high school. Maraming salamat,
Hi,
ma'am.
Johnny. Maraming salamat po. Okay, we have from Ma'am Joelito Mante. Sir Joelito Mante. Congrats, Sir John Paul. Congrats daw, sir.
Maraming salamat, Sir Chuelito Mante. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, baka meron pa. Okay, nandito. Mula kay Mary Fee Selgas Kagoko Remoticado. Napakagaling mo talaga, Ginoong JP Cabugos. Kami ay lubos nagagalak na ikaw ay mapakinggan.
Maraming salamat, ma'am, sa iyong pinakamagandang mensahe para sa akin. Lubos ko ring ikinasisiya at ikinagagalak ng aking puso.
Okay, baka meron pa. Sandali lang po,
Okay.
Ayan. Ito po ay nagmula kay Ma'am Jennifer Pansangan. Congrats, sir. Napakagaling mong magbigkas fluently ng ating wika. I salute you, sir. Well done. Keep it up.
Maraming salamat po, Ma'am Jennifer Pansangan. Lahat po tayo, actually ito si Letjas po, magaling din po yan kasi nga resulta yan ng pag-aaral namin noon at ngayon nga, nagamit na ngayon. Kahit ito si Ma'am Crystal.
Christine po, sir.
Christine pala, sorry.
Okay po, baka meron pa. Okay, from Ma'am Leilani Canete Tan, very proud po ako kay Ginoong JP Cabugos.
Maraming salamat, Binibini. Yan yung pinakamagandang guro sa aming paaralan sa Los Amigos National High School. Walang makatatalo daan. Diyos ang kagandahan yan.
Okay po. Baka meron pa pong mga tanong or greetings para sa ating Ginoo rito.
Okay, we have another one. Ma'am Joy Mantiles. Wow, loud and clear po daw.
Maraming salamat, ma'am, sa magandang mensahe po.
Okay,
Okay. Nais ko lamang sabihin na karagdagan lang din, ito ay isang anunsyo na rin para sa lahat ng kaguruan sa Pilipino sa senior high school kasi ang mga modules natin para sa Pilipino sa baitang 1 hanggang baitang 10 ay handang-handa na. at ang para sa baitang 11 at 12 ay nasa huling stage na ng validasyon. Ibig sabihin yan, maaaring asahan natin ang mga modules na ito sa mga darating na linggo bago pa man magsimula yung ating pasukan ngayong Agosto 24.
Okay po, maraming salamat po, sir. Pero ano lang po, konting tanong lang po.
Okay.
Sinabi niyo po kanina na yung mahahalagang kasayang pampakatuto ay available na po, or yung modules po ay available na po for for lower grade levels until grade 10. Pero saan po natin yung makukuha po?
Siguro 'yan ay ipapadala ng ating sangay ng ating division sa ating admin, sa ating mga
Mm,
school head sa kanilang mga email na siyang ipamimigay rin sa ating mga kaguruan para sila na yung mag-provide ng ating kopya para sa ating mga mag-aaral na nasa ilalim ng modular.
okay, maraming salamat po.
Sir, okay.
Okay po.
Karagdagan katanungan lang po, sir. Sir, since isa po sa ating mga options o modalities is ang online po, meron po ba kayong mga tips or mga masasuggest na mga applications online para po sa ating mga kapwang Filipino naman?
Ah, Ito sa personal kong pananaw sa ating ginagawa ngayon. Actually, ito nga yung gusto kong malaman din kahapon kasi may nagtanong ako kahapon, hindi lang nakuha kasi nga nasa huling bahagi na. Ang dami sa daming platforms na ating pwedeng gamitin, halos ang mga guro ay malilito na kung alin ba sa mga platforms na ito ang pinaka-epektibo sa pagtuturo online. At yung ating ginagamit ngayon is yung LMS, 'di ba?
Yes, sir.
Na kahit yung karamihan sa ating mga guro ay talagang nangangapa pa doon at kailangan pa talagang dumaan sa matinding pagsasanay. Ang tanong ko lang din doon, kung gagamitin talaga yung LMS, meron ba tayong hiwalay na pagsasanay para sa ating mga mag-aaral? Kasi sinasabi natin na ang mga mag-aaral ay may access sa LMS. Na ang tanong dito, alam ba nila kung paano gamitin yung LMS? Yung parang ganoon na mga tanong. So ibig sabihin, para sa akin lang, personal kong pananaw ito at opinion, ang pinaka safe na gamitin natin na online platform ay walang iba kung sa online ay walang iba kundi ang Facebook at saka Messenger. Wala talagang iba. Yan yung pinakagamit ngayon ng ating mga mag-aaral. Di ba? Kahit na sa simpleng pagbibigay lang ng mensahe ang ating mga mag-aaral ay talagang gamit na gamit yung mga Messenger at yung FB. Pero ngayon dito, siguro kakayanin pa rin sa tulong na ng ating mga ICT coordinators, maaaring masolusyonan din ang pangunahing problema na yan kung pag-uusapan ng online. Kasi kung ako lang, modular talaga, mas maganda sa pagkakataong ito.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. You made mention of LMS po. Tomorrow po, para sa ating mga viewers, magkakaroon po tayo ng simulation. Yan.
Ayan. So, mas maganda yan.
Alaman. Yes, sir.
Okay. Ayan,
Okay po.
maganda yan.
Also po, sir, yeah. You mentioned also po about Messenger and Facebook. It's also really good to really access those platforms, sir, kasi they can send their like voice report, para po pwedeng ma-assess pa rin, especially sa komunikasyon na sa base po sa presentation ninyo from 15 or 16, naging 13 na lang po. So maybe if that particular student chose online, they can actually just access or use or submit their outputs or the recorded file via Messenger or Facebook. Diba, sir?
Okay.
Okay, maraming po salamat.
Kung
Meron
yung
pa
mga
rin po.
suggestion, yung mga, yes sir.
Okay. May karagdagang tanong lang po ako, sir, kung maaari lang po.
Okay, go.
Sige po. Sabi niyo po kanina yung mahahalagang kasanayang pagpakatuto ay itinuturing na simple, payak at direkta. Pero para po sa inyong palagay, ang pagyakap po ba sa mga nasabing MELCs ay maaaring panatilihin kahit na babalik na tayo sa normal na sitwasyon? Or mas prefer niyo pa rin ba yung gabay pang curriculum na ginawa na may version 2016?
Yes sir,
Mali.
kasi
Okay,
na-mention ninyo na na-mention ninyo na almost similar lang po siya, di ba, na kahit sinimplified or inayos ng konti yung ang tawag natin dyan, pangungusap or sentences, hindi pa rin nawawala yung layunin. So, base po sa question ni Sir Jazz, ano po ba yung personal opinion niyo, sir?
Actually, ang MELCS ay nabuo dahil lamang sa tawag ng pangangailangan ng ating panahon ngayon, sa sitwasyon. Kaya nga ginawang payak at simple sapagkat hindi mo kung titingnan natin yung original talaga, kung pag-uusapan ang Filipino lang na asignatura, talagang napakarami rin, napakarami, no? Ang pinakamadaming kasanayan pang pagkatuto ay nasa komunikasyon. Pero kung titingnan natin sa Melks, tatlo lang yung tinanggal. So para bang inayos lang siya para maging simple. Pero nakasaad din doon sa aming sa napanood kong mga pagsasanay din sa Pilipino na sinasabing ang Melks ay para lamang sa taong panuruang 2020 at saka 2021. So ibig sabihin yan kapag naging okay na ang lahat, ayos na ang lahat, babalik pa rin tayo doon sa original na gabay pang kurikulum. Mas maganda na balikan natin din yon kasi nga nandun lahat. Kahit na sabihin nating marami sila pero simple pa rin din yung mga kasanayang pampagkatuto. Dito lang sa MELCS mas pinaikli kasi may mga verbs maaring pandiwa sa Pilipino na binago lang din. Okay? Pero nandun pa rin yung layunin ng bawat kasanayang pampagkatuto.
Okay, again, maraming salamat po sa pagsagot ng tanong, sir. Huli lang po. Huling tanong na
Okay.
lang po. Ito yung
Sige, go.
pinaka-importante po. Kumusta ang buhay may asawa po?
Ayan.
Pinaka-importante talaga buhay mag-asawa.
Yes.
Masarap, no? Masarap. Kasi I can practice my human rights. Hindi, hindi, masaya kasi nga araw-araw may inspirasyon ka na gawin yung mga bagay na sa tingin mo noon na hindi mo kayang gawin.
Yes.
Lalo pa ngayon na tayong lahat ay talagang pressure sa iba't ibang mga gawaing pampaaralan, no? Meron tayong gawain sa bawat paaralan natin. Kayo, nandyan kayo, masyadong abala sa pagiging punong abala naman para sa ating webinar na ito. Pero ganun pa man, dahil sa inspirasyon, nagagawa natin ng maayos ang ating trabaho.
Okay po.
So, maraming salamat, sir, sa ating mga viewers at tagapakinig. Kung meron po kayong mga recommended applications, aside po sa Messenger o Facebook, pwede niyo po isulat sa ating comment box para po kapag bahagi rin tayo sa ating mga kapwa. Okay po.
Okay.
Okay, again, maraming salamat po, Ginoong John Paul Cabugos para sa words of wisdom, and as well as I do hope manatili po kayong maging model, hindi lamang sa mga Filipino teachers kundi pati na rin po sa lahat ng mga guro dito sa Pilipinas po.
Wow,
Yes, sir. At
masarap
pahabol
naman
po.
pakinggan.
Yes, sir. Pahabol lamang po from Ma'am Annabelle Yap. God bless po. Congrats, sir. Congrats.
Maraming
Sir.
salamat, Ma'am Annabelle.
Ayan.
Maraming salamat ulit, mga host.
Maraming salamat din po sa panyaya, sir.
Siguro bago tayo pwede ka ba magbigay ng sample ng radio broadcast? Let's
Ayan.
just
Po,
OBP natin.
Handang-handa na po, sir.
okay, sige. Konti lang po, sir.
O, konti lang.
Magandang umaga, Pilipinas. Ako ang lingkod, Let's Cabales, at ito ang DXCC 1296, Ugong sa Umaga.
Wow! At sa ulo ng ating mga nagpapagang balita. Yung mga ganoon ng mga bahas. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat din po, sir.
Magaling.
Ayan, so we will now proceed to our last presenter for this afternoon. We have Ma'am Leia Ibanez of Santo Niño National High School to discuss the subject group English. Ma'am?
Most essential learning competencies in senior high school English subjects. 1 for applied subject, English for academic and professional purposes or EAPP. Core subjects, media and information literacy, oral communication in context, 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world, reading and writing. Applied subject, English for academic and professional purposes. For grade 11 or grade 12. Course offered either in the first or second semester, quarters 1 and 2, or quarters 3 and 4. Most essential learning competencies for quarter 1, 10. For quarter 2, 9. Total of 19 MELCs. Quarter 1 or quarter 3 differentiates language used in academic text from various disciplines. Uses knowledge of text structure to glean the information he or she needs. Uses various techniques in summarizing a variety of academic text. States the thesis statement of an academic text. Outlines reading text in various disciplines. Uses appropriate critical writing, a critic such as formalism, feminism, etc. Writes an objective, balanced review or critique of a work of art, an event, or a program. Determines the ways a writer can elucidate on a concept by definition, explication, and clarification. Compare and contrast various kinds of concept papers for home economics, agriculture, fishery, ICT. Presents a novel concept of project with accompanying visuals or graphic aids. For quarter 2 or quarter 4, gathers manifestos and analyzes the arguments used by the writer or the writers. Defends a stand on an issue by presenting reasonable arguments supported by properly cited factual evidences. Writes various kinds of position papers. Determines the objectives and structures of various kinds of reports. Designs, tests, and revises survey questionnaires, conducts surveys, experiments, or observations, gathers information for surveys, experiments, or observations, summarizes findings, and executes the report through narrative and visual or graphic forms, writes various reports. Let us take note that the ones with asterisk are for the TechVoc track. The learning competencies concerning critical approaches may be replaced by technical applications of specific disciplines like welding, vulcanizing, housekeeping, home care, livestock, etc. Let us now have the most essential learning competencies for the core subjects: Media and Information Literacy, 21st Century Literature from the Philippines and the World, Oral Communication in Context, Reading and Writing. Media and Information Literacy for grade 11 or grade 12, course offered in the second semester or quarters 3 and 4. Most essential learning competencies for quarter 3, 9, quarter 4, 7. Total of 16 most essential learning competencies. For quarter 3, describe how communication is influenced by media and information. Identify the similarities and differences between and among media literacy, information literacy, and technology literacy. Discuss responsible use of media and information. Explain how the evolution of media from traditional to new media shaped the values and norms of people and society. Compare and contrast how one particular issue or news is presented through the different types of media, may it be print, broadcast, or online. Contrast indigenous media to the more common sources of information such as library, internet, and the like. Present an issue in varied ways to disseminate information using the codes, convention, and language of media. Cite practical situation when to apply knowledge in intellectual property, copyright, and fair use guidelines. Create a campaign and to combat digital divide, addiction, and bullying. Quarter 4. Cite an example of an issue showing the power of media and information to affect change. Describe the impact of massive open online. Discuss the implication of media and information to an individual and the society. Describe the different dimensions of text information and media, visual information and media, audio information and media, motion information and media, manipulative information and media, multimedia information and media. Analyze how the different dimensions are formally and informally produced, organized, and disseminated. Evaluate a creative multimedia form like Living Museum, Electronic Portfolio, and others. Produce a creative text-based, visual-based, audio-based, motion-based, and manipulative-based presentation using design, principle, and elements. We shall now have our most essential learning competencies for oral communication in context. For grade 11, course offered in first semester quarters 1 and 2. Total most essential learning competencies for quarter 1, 8. For quarter 2, 2. Total of 10 most essential learning competencies. For quarter 1, explains the functions, nature, and process of communication. Differentiates the various models of communication. Uses various strategies in order to avoid communication breakdown. Examines sample oral communication activities. Identifies the various types of speech context. Distinguishes types of speeches and speech styles. Responds appropriately and effectively to a speech act. Employs various communicative strategies in different situations. Explains that a shift in speech context, speech style, speech acts, and communicative strategy affects the following: language form, duration of interaction, relationship of speaker, role and responsibilities of the speaker, message, and delivery. Uses principles of effective speech writing focusing on audience profile, logical organization, duration, word choice, grammatical correctness, and articulation, modulation, stage presence, facial expressions, gestures and movements, rapport with audience. Our 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world. For grade 11, the course is offered in first semester quarters 1 and 2. Our most essential learning competencies for quarter 1, 5. For quarter 2, 4. Total of 9 most essential learning competencies. For quarter 1, writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary text and doing an adaptation of this require from the learner the ability to identify a. The geographic, linguistic, and ethnic dimensions of Philippine literary history from pre-colonial to the contemporary. B. Representative text and authors from each region. For example, engage in oral history research with focus on key personalities from the student's region, province, or town. Compare and contrast the various 21st century literary genres and the ones from the earlier genres or periods, citing their elements, structures, and traditions. Discuss how different contexts enhance the text's meaning and enrich the reader's understanding. Produce a creative representation of a literary text by applying multimedia and ICT skills. Do self and or peer assessment of the creative adaptation of a literary text based on rationalized criteria prior to presentation. Quarter 2. Writing a close analysis and critical interpretation of literary text. Applying a reading approach and doing an adaptation of this require from the learner the ability to identify representative texts and authors from Asia, North America, Europe, Latin America, and Africa. Compare and contrast the various 21st century literary genres and their elements, structures, and traditions from across the globe. Produce a creative representation of a literary text by applying multimedia and ICT skills. Do a self and or peer assessment of the creative adaptation of a literary text based on rationalized criteria prior to presentation. Reading and writing for grade 11 or grade 12. Course offered in second semester, quarters 3 and 4. Most essential learning competencies for quarter 3, 3. For quarter 4, 6. A total of 9 most essential learning competencies. Quarter 3. Compare and contrast patterns of written text across disciplines. Evaluate a written text based on its properties: organization, coherence and cohesion, language use and mechanics. Identify claims explicitly or implicitly made in a written text. A. Claim of fact. B. Claim of policy. And C. Claim of value. Identify the context in which a text was developed. A. Hypertext. B. Intertext. Explain critical reading as reasoning. Formulate evaluative statements about a text read. A. Assertions about the content and properties of a text read. And B. Counterclaims in response to claims made in a text read. Determine textual evidence to validate assertions and counterclaims made about the text read. Identify the unique features of and requirements in composing texts that are useful across disciplines. A. Book review or article critic. B. Literature review. C. Research report. D. Project proposal. And E. Position paper. Identify the unique features of and requirements in composing professional correspondence. A. Resume. B. Application for college admission. C. Application for employment. And D. Various forms of office correspondence. That's all our most essential learning competencies for senior high school English subjects. Thank you.
Okay, once again, ma'am, thank you for sharing the walkthrough for the English Most Essential Learning Competencies. And now makakasama natin na live si Ma'am Leia P. Ibanez. Ma'am?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to all the teachers of Cluster 6. My felicitation to our cluster head, our PSDS, Dr. Judito O. Galan, our school heads of the different schools of the Cluster 6, especially to our school head, Ma'am Heidi Forzuelo, and to all my fellow teachers in Santa Niña National High School. Maayong hapon sa tanan. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share the English most essential learning competencies.
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. We are also exceedingly grateful of your presence today.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, aantayin natin o babasahin natin yung ilang questions po na galing po sa ating mga viewers. Okay lang po ba, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, first and
So,
foremost, we have from Marlon Reynoso. It's not actually a question, but again, a greeting. Gandang hapon po daw.
Yes. Ganda.
Mayong hapon, gandang hapon. So we have to remember also, no, that the competencies, we would observe that the competencies in English were few. No, there are subjects that are few, but we have to remember, like what John Paul had said in his presentation, that there are competencies that were submerged, that were merged and subsumed in other competencies. So we would think, oh, English would have an easy task in the in this in this school year, but I don't think so. For example, when we would have the written text competencies, it is subsumed or merged in other competencies. That's why it would be covered by other competencies before having that main competency. So that's why there would be lesser competencies that you would see, but they will not be missed out. That will not be missed out.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for emphasizing that one because our teachers as well as our stakeholders need to know that information. I would just like to know, ma'am, if I'm not mistaken, Sir Jazz, ma'am Leia is actually the reading coordinator of Santo Niño National High School. Am I right, ma'am?
Yes,
Is
Tin.
that how? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Tin. I would like to encourage again, even if not, especially for us in the senior high school, since our students are at home, doing school at home. I think as a reading coordinator, as a reading teacher, I still encourage because for English, there would really be a great need for students to be good in reading. So they would be able to give. Because if they would not read, they will not become writers. And a good reader is a good writer. That would be a basis of a good reader, being able to write what has been learned and what has been read.
True. Okay, as what the famous adage also says, ma'am, a person who does not read good books has no advantage over a person who cannot even read. Right, ma'am?
Yes,
So try
yes,
to read
yes,
and read, and we just like to again emphasize to our teachers, our teacher participants that every teacher is a reading teacher. So we also need to
yes.
have reading and teaching profession. Okay,
Especially at this time that we would have the modular type of uh, mode of learning, there would really be a lot of reading that our students would be doing. So I would say good luck to all our teachers and to us as well as our students who would be having a number of modules to be, to battle with over the school year.
yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you share with us here, ma'am, who are also listening? I believe they're also interested to know your style, your way of assessing your student, because in mental comprehensive, ma'am, our way is through calling our frustrated our students under the frustration level. So how about in Santo Niño High School, ma'am? How do you assess your
We
students?
actually do the same. We actually do the same. Less of the virtual thing, but it's more of calling them. We I think we use the same mode of assessment. So far, we are still. If you are talking about the 8 week reading program that we have prior to the school year, we are still ongoing and we are still on our 5th week. We are still on our 5th week. Therefore, I would like to commend the participation and cooperation of the parents as well as the students. They would really come, they would really find ways to get their reading toolkit, as we call it, for each week. The assessment that we have would still be calling, and they have given us an updated numbers that they have. Their cell phone numbers are updated, so we have a very good communication line. So there is actually no problem in terms of assessment. Thank you, Tin, for the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Also, ma'am, just a follow-up question. You mentioned about modular, and for our viewers, for our parents, we just like to reiterate, modular is actually one of our learning modalities, right? Viewers, and also, ma'am, there are some skills that our students have to meet. One of this is applying multimedia and ICT skills. So this one is under quarter one and quarter two. So how are you going to apply this one, especially if the student chose modular learning modality?
I think they could make their outputs and then keep it and then send it to the teacher. Or even, I wonder because there were times that I think last year it was said that we do not post, we do not encourage, like in the Facebook, in the social media, where we would gather viewers and then vote, something like that. But I think DepEd would be utilizing that this time, all the means in the social media for our students to be able to exhibit their outputs. Next is they would just send if and when they could have it recorded in the in a CD or a flash drive. In if and when that would not be possible, um, the teacher would probably find ways how we could do it. In terms of the chosen, no, the chosen most essential learning competencies, I saw that that competency where they would be giving out their output. One is one they could PM it. That would be a short video probably. But it does not really that one for MIL and that for the even the oral com would have that and other subjects. But I don't think that would be a hinder. No, that would be there would be any hinder to be able to submit outputs. In not would that would there would be not much pressure on part in the part of our students for that, you know, the virtual outputs that we were trying to say.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, now let's read some of the comments na mula sa ating
Go.
mga viewers. Let's start first with, okay, with from Ma'am Jonalyn Bacaro again. Hello, Ma'am Leia, idol.
Hi, Ma'am Jonna. Mas idol siya.
Mm.
Okay, from Ma'am Lourdes Ang. Go, go, go. Ma'am Leah. Go, 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 ma'am.
Hi, Ma'am Lourdes, my fellow in the English department of Cluster 6.
Okay,
Hello,
baka meron pa. Oh, meron from Marlon Reynoso. Gandang hapon po raw.
gandang hapon.
Ayan. Okay, from Danielle. Sir Daniel O. Sevillano. Congrats, Sir JP Cabocos and Ma'am Mira and Ma'am Leah.
Yes, Sir Dan.
So, Sir Daniel is one of our presenters, and he actually just presented earlier this morning.
Okay,
And
so ma'am, do you have any final insights or thoughts or maybe some small announcements, ma'am?
This school year would be a great challenge for every teacher, especially for English, because we would always say the subject and or the subjects in English would always be found difficult by our students. But our teachers would always be resilient, whatever the situation is. We would carry on. Sabi nga natin palagi, kaya ito, laban lang, go, go, go. For cluster 6, our teachers are all very good, as we would always hear sulong edukasyon. For all teachers in the cluster 6, we would always remember the mantra of cluster 6, which Dr. Janito Ogalan has, has been telling us and promoting in all schools in the cluster 6, and telling the whole division of Davao City for all of us to go with our mantra, Ministerium et Excellentiam, service and excellence. Good afternoon.
thank you so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
So that's it. To sum it up to all our viewers, MELC or MELC's most essential learning competencies shall serve as a primary reference of all schools divisions, and the regional offices in determining and implementing learning delivery and approaches that are suited to local context and diversity of learners while adapting to the challenging cause of COVID-19.
Okay, tama ka nga dyan, ma'am. And now, let us hear another thoughts and other details and announcements from Sir Norman R. Galabo, our MELCS facilitator. Sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so thank you, Sir Jazz and Ma'am Teen. So we have heard already the presentation this afternoon coming from Ma'am Mira Floranding, Sir Louis Mark John Paul Cabugos, and Ma'am Leia Ibanez. So thank you so much, and congratulations for a job well done to these three expert teachers in their own field. Now, may I also inform everyone, especially in the senior high school teachers, that we don't have the presentation for MELCs for the TVL, since the TVL do not have the MELCs. So they will be using the curriculum guide for each offering or skills. So for the TVL, whether it is um, home economics or EIM, ICT, so they will be having their own enhanced, no, curriculum guide to be used. to be that would also be utilized during the new normal approach, our new learning modality. So with that, I would like to say again, thank you so much for your participation, for sharing your time and talent. So I know we are all first timers for this virtual presentation. So for sure, we are also adjusting with this new normal. So with that, also I would like to say thank you for the support of all the senior high school teachers. So kasi marami yung mga teachers na hindi natin nakikita sa camera, so they are also helping us so to to materialize this one, and that is why I believe that the senior high school teachers are really cooperative in whatever endeavor we will be facing in this coming new school year. So I guess that would be all. So that ends our milks, no? So congratulations to all the senior high school presenters.
Yes, thank you so much, Doc Norman R. Galabo. So we really need to invest this since we're all new to this kind of platform, and as well as what my friend once said, we need to invest time, effort, as well as equipment. Okay, in accessing this platform. So what they said, an investment in education pays the best interest. Thank you so much, Doc Norman R.
Thanks, Ma'am Tin and Sir Jazz.
Okay, so
Okay, again, that was Dr. Norman R. Galabo, our MELS facilitator. And also, we would like to remind everyone to please answer the training evaluation link to be projected here on the screen down below. Oh, and also, we would like to acknowledge the Cluster 6 Learning Management team led by our cluster supervisor, Dr. Junito Ogalan, with the school heads, first from Mindal Comprehensive High School, Ma'am Leia M. Caminotes, PhD, from Santo Niño National High School, Ma'am Heidi L. Forsuelo, from Bago Shiro High School, Sir Christopher N. Labastida, from Tugbok National High School, Mr. Yolando I. Cortez, from Los Amigos National High School, Mr. Raul A. Cabilogan, from Tacunan National High School, Ma'am Helen G. Reyno, EDD, from Ula National High School, we have Mr. Jason J. Reyes, I mean. Next, from Biao National High School, we have Ma'am Mary Ann B. Ongkoy. From Optasiano Hilay National High School, we have Emmy B. Gokong, EDD. We also have from the Emilio Estepona National High School, Mr. Rodrigo J. Cayano, sir. We also have from Tagakpan National High School, Sir Elmer A. Suarez. From Talandang National High School, we have Sir Felix O. Abelio. From Matina Biao High School, we have Driven Abadia. We also have from New Valencia Integrated School, Mr. Antonio D. Tutor. We also have from Carmen Integrated School, Mr. Robert B. Ariate. From Balderas Integrated School, we have Joanna May L. Rojas. And last but not the least, from Bartolome Integrated School, Mr. Henry P. Valladares.
okay, and we also have this working committee, Cluster 6 ICT team, school ICT coordinators, Mintal Comprehensive High School, we have Ma'am Lisa A. Reputan, Senior High School, Santo Niño National High School, we have Ma'am Milan Earl Alcala. We also have from Tugbuk National High School, Sir Zephyros John Laguardia and Sir Paulo Banjo V. Cortez. From Los Amigos National High School, Ma'am Maria Bercil S. Uy and Sir Emilito Natonton. We also have Tacuna National High School, Sir Dan Terence I. Darrow. And the ICT coordinator of Tacunan National High School, I mean, Ma'am Emily T. Demo, and Biao National High School, John May I. Bernardo. From Opticiano, Hilay National High School, Sir Rodilio L. Palarion, and Ma'am Genevieve C. Gonzalo. From Talandang National High School, Ma'am Reveline P. Diaz. Tagakpan National High School, Julito T. Mante, Ma'am Janice B. Lizardo, and Ma'am Mary Rose A. Antipala. From Matina National High School, Matina Biao National High School, Leomar B. Desierto, Carmen Integrated School, Audrey Ann G. Martinez, Valderas Integrated School, Basilio G. Camanyan. And of course, we would like to give credits to the people behind this training or this rollout. The production team of Mintal Comprehensive High School. We have Emily Altibol, Junior High School, Melissa Iraputano once again, Charis Lois O. Sunga, Christy S. Estandarte, Angelica Eliza O. Tajos, Anisito P. Neri Jr., Jemar L. Parantar, Marcel Jean Z. Abrio, and Alan Verhel P. Ricaport. For St. National High School, we have Sir Lister Jones M. Baang. To Book National High School, we have Sir Zephyrus John Laguaria, Paulo Banjo V. Cortez, and Sir Kim Ravida, or Engineer Kim Ravida. Los Amigos National High School, Ma'am Maria Bercil S. Uy, and Sir Emilito Natonton. Tacunan National High School, we have Sir Dan Terrence Idero, Ula National High School, Ma'am Emily T. Demo, Biao National High School, John May I. Bernardo, Opticiano Hilay National High School, Ma'am Genevieve G. Gonzalo, and Sir Rodilio L. Palarian. Tagapa National High School, Sir Joelito Mante. Seems like they're all the ICT coordinators of the Cluster 6. Ma'am Janice B. Lizardo, Mary Rose A. Antipala. Palandang National High School, Revelyn P. Diaz, Matina Biao High School, Umar B. Desherto, and Balderas Integrated School, Basilio G. Camanyan. And for tomorrow's activity, we have the list of simulators. English, Laika S. Hayagan. Math, Irish, Beth Balsita. Science, Hazel May Simo. Filipino, Sir Lefjes Cabales. Araling Panikunan, Donabel Concon. MAPEC, Lizari Barcayo. ESP, Dominador Manon. TLE, Rhea M. Rhea May B. Ancheta, Senior High School Core Ruel P. Dialogo, Senior High School Applied David Jonathan M. Valdez. For the ACADS, we have Sir Kim Ravida, TVL Carol Jun Sonsona, Bartolome Integrated School, we have Ma'am Sarah Jean L. Caparoso, Balderas Integrated School, we have Sir Ian J. O. San Pascual. Carmen Integrated School, we have Ma'am Elvie F. Saday and Ma'am Mary Ann G. Hernale. And lastly, we have for New Valencia Integrated School, Ma'am Irma P. Engente. And once again, we would like to acknowledge our presenters for this afternoon. So that was a lengthy acknowledgement, okay? So the list of all our production team. So before I share to you, or before we formally end this session, I would just like to share this one with you, as what our former president Elpidio Quirino once said: "The thing you want to do is the measure of your strength. We cannot do anything if we begin by saying we cannot do it." Thus, we would like to give credits once again to all the people behind this rollout.
Okay, para hindi po makalimutan, we would like to acknowledge also the efforts from our cluster subject coordinators. First, we have the cluster English coordinator, Juresi O. Simafranca. From the cluster mathematics coordinator, Alfredo Entuan. The cluster science coordinator, Rowena P. Espere. The cluster ESP coordinator, Lorna A. Dairit. From the cluster MAPID coordinator, Ma'am Edna M. Rivera. Cluster Filipino coordinator, Arlene E. Bacalso. Cluster TLE coordinator, Priscilla A. Benar, EDD. Cluster of Araling Panlipunan coordinator, Maria Alma L. Adriano. And the cluster senior high school coordinator, Mr. Norman R. Galabo, EDD.
Okay, so I think we need to reiterate the training evaluation link for better retention.
Okay, again, narito po sa ating screen or nasa ibaba po yung ating evaluation link. And if you don't mind, try to answer this evaluation link as soon as possible. And also, we'd like to remind everyone that we will be having our webinar tomorrow, specifically the simulations at 8:30 a.m. So if you don't mind, try to be as early as possible para magawa rin din po tayo bilang watch advocates at baka malay natin, baka magka 100 peso load kayo.
Yes, yan nga naman. And once again, do not forget to answer our evaluation link, for your responses will be our basis in improving, in turning corners, in to vastly improve the conduct of our webinar in the distant future. So thank you so much. You may also review our live recorded video during, I mean, at your most convenient time. Okay, so always shoot higher than you know you can. Don't bother just to be better than your contemporaries and predecessors. Try to be better than yourself. Once again, this is Maria Christine O. Mijias of Minto Comprehensive High School and
And I am left just speak Cabalas of MCHS saying maayong hapon o
Daghang Salamat Cluster 6. Sulong
sulong edukalidad
para sa bata
para sa bayan.